This video is going to talk about what does it mean to be a function or not a function. And there's three ways to check if a relationship is a function. So the first way that you can check is by doing the vertical line test. And that means that if you draw vertical lines through any of your graph, any part of your graph, those vertical lines can only hit one point. And if you notice this one, when I drew the line at 1, then it hit more than 1 point. So that would mean that this is not a function. And there is more than one way to check, so we're going to check the other ways too so that you can see all ways. So I'm going to name each of these points. I'll start with the two that are circled, so that's 1, 3. The one on the bottom is 1, negative 2. This one, let's see, that's negative 3 down 4. This one, negative 2 up 5. And that one, it's over 4. And then you don't go up or down. So this is another way that you can check to see if your relation is a function. And so you're given a bunch of points, and if you look at the x values, since those x values are the same and there's two different numbers as the output, that would mean that if you graph those, they're going to be on the same vertical line. So this is another way to check, is if there's two x values the same, that means that it is not a function. Not a function. And then there's one other way. This one's actually called a mapping, but we're just going to list the x and y numbers in our ovals. So we look at all the x numbers listed in this row, and we order them from least to greatest. So the first smallest number is negative 3. Then there's negative 2. Then there's the 1, but we only list it once. And then the 4. So we just list any x values we have. Then we list the y values. So we look at this column here. And we list them small to big again. So negative 4, negative 2, 0, 3, 4, and 5. Oops. I think just 3. There's no 4 there. I was thinking about the negative 4. Okay. So on this one, then you would say, well, the 1 matches to 3. So we're going to draw an arrow from 1 to 3. I'm just matching each of the x's up with their y's. So this one matches to negative 2. So I need to draw the 1 to 2 numbers. This negative 3 matches to negative 4. So negative 3 to negative 4. Draw an arrow. Negative 2 to 5. Negative 2 down to 5 there. And then 4 to 0. So 4 to 0. So this is another way that you can check, and you see that here you have this number 1 is going to two different numbers. That's a way that you can know right away that this is not a function. So when you have an x number, x's are on this side. When you have an x number that goes to two different numbers, that's not a function. So we're going to try the next ones, just mostly with the vertical line test here. So if I draw a vertical line through any part of my graph, notice the first line I drew already hits more than 1 point. Therefore, this is not a function. No. This one, any line you draw, so we're going to draw some lines straight up and down, that's vertical straight up and down. Notice any of these lines, they only hit the graph once. And so that is yes, this is a function. They're only hitting the graph once. This one, we're going to draw our line. Well, right away we see that line already hits more than one. This is not a function, no. Here, if I draw any vertical line through that line, notice that it's only going to hit that graph once and only once. So once and only once means yes, that is a function. Again, if you draw some lines through here, there's no place where we're going to hit more than once. So all the time just once, that's a yes function. Right away we can see, oh, draw my line, I've got 2 hit, therefore no, not a function. If you're going to name, let's see, if you've got these 2 points here, if I were going to name this point, that'd be 4 up 2. If I were going to name that point, that'd be 4 negative 2. So if you look right away, you see there's 2 x values that go to 2 different y numbers. So, and if you were to map that, we'd have a 4, we'd have a 2 and a negative, well, a negative 2 and a 2, because we go small to big. And the 4 goes to those 2 different numbers, which means that's another way to see that's not a function. On this one, the only place where we're going to have any problems is right here. You've got those 2 points, and they're both dark. That means it says they're both solutions, so it hits it more than once, so no, not a function. And this one, it's pretty clear to see that anywhere you draw your line, it's only going to hit once. This point doesn't even hit at all because it's an open circle. And so yes, that is a function. And that's it for function, not a function.